Good morning. My name's Robin Robinson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an elder at the church, and as part of my elder duties, I'm also the treasurer. So this morning I wanted to give you a quick update on where we netted out for the 2021 budget. Top line summary for you is pledge cards turned in were about 8% lower in 2021 versus last year. Budget offerings we're projecting overall to be about 1% below 2020. Expenses we're projecting to be about 7% below 2020 and 2019. Cash requirements, so the amount of money it takes to operate, it looks like we will dip into our reserve fund, which is around $31,000 in September, October, November. And we did achieve a balanced budget, so we will not be deficit spending this year. So let's jump into pledges. As most of you remember, October and November are our pledge months, and that's when we go out and ask for folks to share with us what they think they'll be offering, their offerings will be for the next year. That allows us to begin the budgeting process. And so if you look at this, the first chart I'm showing you, the green line is what our projection is for 2021, as well as history going back to 2013. And you can see, the growth in that offering. The blue line is what pledge cards are turned in, and the difference between the total and the pledges is the red line. And that red line is the amount above pledges turned in that we are relying on coming in addition for the year. So one thing I would point out is between 2013 and 2019, you can see the tremendous amount of growth we had in our overall offerings. And you can also see that parallel with the pledges that we received. We've seen double-digit growth up until 2019, where we started to plateau. And so you can see we're expecting $560,000 this year in total revenue, of which about 450 of that is from pledges. Now that 111,000 that's above and beyond the pledges is what we need in addition to what was pledged. And in the past, we've always kind of gauged that amount that we're going to guesstimate will come in between 15 and 20%. This year, we're going to be counting on about 25% coming in above and beyond our pledges, which is only the third year since 2013 that we've estimated it to be that high. The Finance Committee, myself, and Session agree that this is a risk, and we really don't want to go that high in assuming additional income. But based on the assumptions that we did make, and I think some pretty educated guesses, we feel comfortable taking this risk. So let's look at P&L, profit and loss, and expenses, where our expenses come in, and then what is our ending profit or loss for the year. I first want to orient you to where our spending goes in our church. Almost 50% of that goes towards our staff and contractors, and that's salaries. The second largest bucket is our facilities management at 37%. Admin is around 10%. Our three ministries, the programs only, are children, youth, and adult, is around 3%. And of course, if you added in the salaries associated with those ministries, it would be significantly larger. And then another category called other is about 1% of our spending. So let's look at modified P&L, and I'll tell you why it's modified here in just a second. You can see the offerings and income for 2021. We're expecting just under $560,000 to come in. And I have two little arrows there. I compared this 2021 budget to 2020 actuals, as well as 2019 actuals. So the green being 2020 and the yellow being 2019. And the reason I did that is 2020 was an unusual year. 9 or 10 months of that year, we were not in-person services, and it was just a crazy year. And so I wanted to compare it to something that was a little bit more normal, which is 2019. And so you can see how the offerings are changing versus 2020, down 2%, and 2019, down 5%. In terms of salaries and contracts, we're projecting 21 to be down 13% versus last year and 19% versus 2019. A little bit of context here. In 2019, that's the year Nancy retired, so her salary was included for half that year and not in 2020. And then in 2021, you've all read the news that in order to eliminate the negative we had in the P&L of around $35,000 to $40,000, Session, on a recommendation from the Personnel Committee, made a really tough decision to eliminate the office manager position and absorb that work within the current structure. So tough decision. However, it was really the only place we could cut to minimize the risk by running a deficit budget. Facilities requirements. The reason this is a modified P&L is typically the principal part of a mortgage is on a balance sheet. I have pulled it forward into the P&L so that you can really see, much like you manage your own budget, what the total mortgage, principal and interest, how it impacts our organization. So within facility requirements, we're projected to be up 2% versus last year. And what else is included in this besides the mortgage is utilities and maintenance. Admin expenses are projected to be up 5% versus last year and 17% versus 2019. So what's driving this? Bank service charges. As we have expanded our online giving, we are charged credit card fees, and so that's the bank service charges. Also in this category is supplies, copies and postage, and our bookkeeping service, as well as the software associated with that. The three main ministries that we have that we fund directly, youth, children, and adults, we're up in all of those categories versus last year. And again, this is just the program expenses to run those ministries. And the budgets that you see there for 2021 are exactly what each of those owners, Kevin, Amy, and Taylor, had requested. And that's what went in the budget. And the last category, other, is down about 60% versus last year. And what's included in this category are our audio-visual needs, as well as our worship supplies and music. Last year, Session approved a special $15,000 spend against AV needs. And those AV needs addressed our sudden need to broadcast online services. And that helped us buy the necessary equipment, cameras, and software to be able to do that. And then a little bit later in the year, we needed additional materials to be able to produce a simulcast, both online and in person at the same time. Obviously, we're not going to need to make that investment in 2021 since we made it in 2020. So for a total P&L, cash requirements and expenses are exactly what our income is going to be, $560,000 this year. It's down 7% versus the previous 2 years, where we were pushing over $600,000 in expenses. And then here you can see the balanced budget, and you can see the last 2 years, 2020 and 2019, we ran a deficit budget. The one thing that helped us out last year was getting the Payment Protection Program loan, or the PPP loan, from the government, which was around $61,000. And that really is what saved us last year and being able to start 2021 in a positive cash flow. So let's talk about the impact to the church and next steps. First of all, with the office manager role being eliminated for this year, staff and volunteers will need to take over some of the office manager duties around answering phone and making copies and some administrative tasks, ordering supplies. As for the office manager's duties as they related to finance, those duties have already been transferred and are being handled by myself and our professional bookkeeper, Brittany. The third thing is that, as I mentioned, I see no need to spend like we did in 2020 on AV needs, and so that helped reverse out some of that to a positive for us. Building, cleaning, and yard maintenance will need to continue into 2021 with congregants and volunteers. And the last thing is that we did put money back in the budget to replace the parking lot lights. I think I heard officially now every light is out, and it's become a safety hazard at this point. So we're targeting in April to be able to replace those lights. So just wanted to thank everyone for your time and attention. If you have any questions or would like more details, please give me a call or send me an email. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and share any information. And also, I'll take a few questions after this video. So if you're in person, just raise your hand. And if you're online, just type it in the chat box and I'll have someone read those out to me. Again, thank you and have a very blessed Sunday.